Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
Hello and welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. This is episode 22 with our guest, Zach Peterson. Zach is an entrepreneur, athlete, among many other things. I met Zach on a sales call back in November and loved what he was working on. So let's dive into how Zach shapes his success. Zach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I thought back when I started this in I think January, I wanted to have you on here. I just was waiting for it to get it a little more in shape. So it's great to have you.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I'm excited.
Hey, so can you tell us a little bit about what you have going on? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff. Let's get a little bit of background on you.
Yeah, so I'm from Boise. I wasn't born here, but that's all I've known. I grew up playing basketball, played basketball at a few different colleges, but ended up at the College of Idaho and got a degree from there in business. Did a bunch of different jobs out of college, door to door, worked in the supplement industry, worked for marketing agencies, did a lot of different things, and then eventually jumped off and started my own real estate development company. So technically I'm a land developer according to the IRS, but did a lot of different things with that, and then launched a clothing brand with Tattooed and Successful with a buddy back in 2018. And then launched some other small companies after that through my investment company, and then also launched a car company this year that we'll be trying to do some things probably later on this year or early next year. So a lot of different things.
Yeah, that's so crazy. And you're how old now?
I'll be 30 this December.
So just a young dude. I love it. Yeah, it's so awesome that you have that.
Yeah, it runs in my family. I mean, my grandfather was an inventor, entrepreneur. He actually invented the backup alarm on construction vehicles. And then my dad has worked in the semiconductor technology industries for his entire life, and super entrepreneur with that, amongst other things, real estate, flying, all sorts of different aspects. So it definitely runs in the family. So I'm definitely in third place in the generations, but I got a lot of catching up to do to get to what they accomplished. But they're definitely been both great people to look up to. My grandfather passed away when I was super young, but definitely left a legacy to learn from and live up to.
Yeah, it's funny because I want to tell you a little bit of story about kind of when I met you. The day I met you, I was a teacher for quite a few years. Well, not quite a few years, 4 years. I worked at Les Schwab for 11 years, and then I went and taught for 4 years, and just didn't work out. It wasn't fulfilling. And I started doing all this Instagram posting and things. And I was actually sitting, waiting for your appointment, talking or doing a video and talking about this customer that I had just talked to about tattoos earlier in the day. And then I ran into you, and it was just this thing where we were talking about how people judge that. And I really liked the story and how it all kind of fell in about Tattooed and Successful. And you told me this story about how you were sitting in the airport. Can you kind of tell us that story and where this kind of came from? Because this kind of where I was introduced to you.
Yeah, there's a lot. I got a lot of airport stories because I traveled a lot for a while with football. But I think the airport you're talking about is, yeah, you can, if you wear any of our shirts, our logos, sometimes pretty small like this one, or sometimes we have it big branded across the chest. And the airports are one of the best places to wear our shirts, or airport or a mall or something like that. And people will look at it and they take a hard second to read it and think about what the shirt says, and then they tend to look you up and down and try to find your tattoos if you're not completely covered like I am. But it's always interesting to have the conversation with them on why you started the brand or why you wear it, and that goes for anybody that wears it. We always get stories sent into us from people that nurses that still have to wear, little kind of runner's sleeves up their arm to cover up their tattoos, or wear heavy makeup on their arms or things like that. Like they make cover up to cover up their tattoos and things like that. So you always get people that want to have the conversation, and you can always see the old heads that don't want to have the conversation, that look at you and look at your shirt and kind of give that disgusted look and things like that. And that's even, I don't know, sometimes that's more fun than having the conversation.
But one of the big reasons you started it, I was just going to say, one of the big reasons you started it was because people judge people with tattoos, right? That's kind of the big thing.
Yeah.
And you wanted to prove a point that no matter what, just because you have a tattoo doesn't mean that you're not a successful person, right?
No, yeah. And the big thing was and success, we didn't want to define so massively. Success wasn't, driving a $100,000 car and owning a mansion and things like that. Success was, to us, just establishing a task or a goal and accomplishing that. Being a good, there's plenty of moms that are stay-at-home moms that keep a great household, that feed their kids, that educate their kids. That's successful. You're building a foundation for your child to find their own success by you enabling them properly and providing their correct environment for them. That's a successful day. You can have successful years, you can have successful goals, you can have successful hours, days, minutes. It doesn't need to be some massive goal for, I need to live in a $500,000 house, drive a $100,000 car, and my 401k needs to look great by the time I'm 35. I think when people do that, they put way too much pressure on themselves and establish these unrealistic expectations to where it's super easy to fail when you set out that you have to have a $500,000 house. Because if you get a $400,000 house when you're 40 instead of 30, did you fail? Well, I mean, technically by your goal, but I think you're doing pretty damn good if you're happy. I mean, sometimes the simplest success can be having a good day. I'm going to have a good day today. For what you do with the sales, I'm going to have a good day by making some good connections with people, getting a couple sales here and there, and going home to my family and having a good evening. That's a successful damn day.
Right. Exactly.
You didn't make $500K, but that's a damn good day.
Right. And that's really what it's about. That's why I started to do the show, is that it doesn't matter what you think success is, as long as you're happy. That's really what matters. It matters the fact that you went out, worked hard, and did what you wanted.
Yeah, I think I think social media has changed that for everybody. And our business being primarily on social media, we're a great culprit of that in a way. But success is individually defined. That you can't use one big definition to do it, because you're just going to lump everybody up together. And that's just too difficult for people to adhere to those standards, because everybody has a different level of happiness or success.
Right.
But the reason my buddy and I started it was because we both owned businesses. He owned a gym and I owned the real estate development company, and we just got shit from people all the time. I'd go to the Boise Chamber of Commerce events and things like that. And people just look at you all weird. Why are you here? Cause I always wear a golf polo or something like that. So it's still got my sleeve hanging out. Same with him. And people look at you what are you doing here? This isn't your scene. Or, oh, what are you, like a chef or a barber or something like that, where you can cover it up? And I'm like, no, I do real estate and sit in on board meetings at a big company. Like I'm
and
doing
it's
okay.
funny
Thank
because
you,
the
though.
story,
I appreciate it.
the story that I was talking about with the airport that I remember you telling me was you were sitting there just after you had knee surgery and you were going into first class and the lady didn't believe that
Oh,
you
the
were going
groin.
into
Yeah,
first
after I
class.
had groin surgery. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a funny one. Yeah, I was flying back from San Jose. I had surgery, a groin surgery down in San Jose, and was limping up to the gate in some sweatpants and one of our T-shirts. And she was the person that checks you in for Delta, and she called up first class, and I hobbled up there because I was 36 hours out of surgery, and hobbled up there and went to check in. She's like, gave me that, "Oh, you're in first class" type of thing. I was like, yeah, I am. Like I just had surgery. Like, yes, I am. I appreciate it. And just kind of looked me up and down, looked at my sleeve, looked at the way I was walking, because I had a little like limp, and it wasn't meant to be like a gangster limp. It was just I just had full
You just
reconstructive.
had surgery.
Yeah, and so it was just funny, and it's funny even now when I'm fully healthy and wearing normal clothes, walking up in first class on flights, and these old heads off to their business meetings just look at you funny, and it cracks me up every single time. It honestly, like, sometimes in spite of them, makes you want to just get completely covered in tattoos, just random ones, just to prove a point. But it's an interesting dynamic to have those conversations or those looks from people, especially the ones that can tell they're very anti it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of judgment with it, and that's the thing that really struck me. Is it was funny when before I came to your house and I had that appointment before, the guy was an older guy, and they looked at me and he goes, I don't have as many as you do, but I have some that are kind of peeking out here and there. And he's like, he goes, where'd you get that? Or, what do you think about that? And we just started talking about it. I thought he was just judging me, but he ended up purchasing, and then he showed me his, and there, he was a retired Marine or something, and he had good meaning behind every single one of them. And it's interesting how you can just make that snap judgment on someone just based on the way that they look. And that's why it's like, the title of this episode is Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover, because people see that, people look at you and they automatically think that, hey, that guy's, he's no good. And that's not the truth. And
especially
so
being the young.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, just especially being like my age with the tattoos, a beard, usually in street clothes, not dressed up, walking into some more important scenarios and things like that. It's funny, going to sign a document for some land and some flip flops and a T-shirt with a full sleeve hanging out of your T-shirt. It's kind of funny just to get the looks from people like, what is this guy doing here? And it kind of, I'm not going to change to fit a meeting,
Right.
And that's what kind of the other, this line of clothes that we started was this break the mold line, was whatever realm you want to walk into, you can break the mold or break the confines of that industry or whatever. And it doesn't even have anything to do with tattoos. If it's women in a workplace, if it's a racial thing, whatever, break the mold of that by whatever you want to do or whatever you want to accomplish.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about the clothing line a little bit. I have one of your shirts hanging back here. This is your logo, other side. That's your logo here, the TNS. That's a Tattooed and Successful. You're wearing the Break the Mold hat. How did you go through the process of starting this and creating the logo and getting everything going? What was that like?
So it was one of my best friends. He moved to Charleston now. He lives in South Carolina. But him and he owned a gym in Boise, and we were just working out one day and talking about, what we did on a day-to-day basis. And both of our families gave us quite a bit of crap for having tattoos. Especially, he got tattooed in high school. I didn't until after college. I wish I had during college, but I waited. And we just decided to start a brand, and then we didn't know what to call it. And then I think we were going to call it like Successfully Inked or Inked and Employed, or just different random names. And then we ended up with Tattoo and Successful. And then we just started drawing stuff, drawing logos, over and over and over again. And then ended up meeting up with a graphic artist and sent them kind of a bunch of renditions that I had drawn. And we ended up coming back with this one after a lot of changes. And then we launched back in March, April, May of 2018. Our big launch was doing the Treasure Valley Tattoo Convention back in 2018, which is
and it's getting pretty and it's getting pretty big now too. I noticed, when I met you, for the growth from November to now is huge, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot more because of COVID and being able to, because you're an internet business and you've got it on there? Have you been pushing it more that way?
So during COVID, we actually slowed down quite a bit. People were tight with funds. I mean, for the most part, people were. And then we kind of sped up for a little bit. And then I think as people have gone back to work, we've kind of slowed back down. People used to be very ritualistic about when they would shop and things like that. But I think right now, because of the uncertainty of everybody's day-to-day life, it's just a little erratic right now. So it's really hard to predict times and all sorts of things. Not that there's ever a specific time that people always buy on Wednesdays at 4 or something like that. But from month to month, it's kind of been all over the place during this COVID thing. But yeah, definitely since November, we've really grown.
Yeah. How do you market it? Like, because I know that you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook, because those are the two main things. What do you do? Do you have like a marketing company? Is it pretty much just you posting all the pictures and putting everything on there? Do you have a team? How does that work?
So I'm a one-man show. I do all the orders, all the marketing, all the everything, but I have had some help. We have a photographer now. His name's Andrew Jackson. AJ Media is what he is on Instagram, and he's his background's in cars, shooting cars, but he's a super talented portrait photographer and lifestyle photographer. And then we've also partnered up with Black Mansion Design Group, and his name is Nick, and he owns Black Mansion, and he's helped us out with kind of remarketing our website and just cleaning up things just a little bit to try to, make us look as we've grown to be bigger. I don't code, I don't know SEO that well, so it's been helpful to bring someone on that's kind of their expertise.
So you mentioned that you're kind of a one-man show. So when the order goes in, it goes to you, you package that thing up and send it out. Is that how it works?
Yep. About 3 times a week, I pack up orders. If I did it every day, I think I'd go crazy, but I do it like 2 to 3 times a week. We're not Amazon. We don't pack your stuff the same day.
It's not Prime, huh? What's up with that?
Yeah. No Prime delivery. And no local delivery either. We don't do the local pickups either.
So what kind of advice would you give someone who wanted to start like a clothing line, who wanted to market their clothing and things like that? What would be some advice looking back now that you've done it that you would give?
I think I used to be super money motivated, and that's not a bad thing. I know a lot of people that are super successful that are just straight money motivated. And I think I definitely used to be 90% that way. And now I think with this brand, it's taught me to be movement motivated or culturally motivated. And that's, creating something that vibes with a culture or with a group versus trying to make dollars out of it. It's been much more successful for us to create a brand that people resonate with and that they can have a conversation with, and having those organic conversations with people, meeting lots of people, going to conventions, wearing the apparel as much as possible, reaching out to people and having uncomfortable or comfortable conversations with them that have to do with the brand. That's been the way I think it's grown so much since November, is having those organic engagements with people.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's a lot better to get that organic reach versus like you see like all these people talking about. I have people reach out to me daily about, hey, I want to partner with you and I want to, you pay 50% of the whatever, and and we'll
Yeah.
blast your stuff all over the place. And I don't know. I have a hard time with that. I'm not going to pay someone to push my brand because that's not organic. That's not me. It's their idea of what it is. So
yeah. So I mean, I don't know of any other company. I don't talk to a lot of other lifestyle brands, but we don't pay any influencers or any ambassadors. And for a clothing brand nowadays, that's unheard of. You know, they got these ambassadors that give you 10% off and use their code and stuff like that. We don't do any of that. We haven't done any of that. We tried to right off the get-go, and it didn't work at all for us. And then we had a year of just staying pretty stagnant. And then I took over the company completely from my buddy once he moved away. And it's just all been about that organic reaching out to people. This break the mold line's really blown up for people because it resonates with people without tattoos. And then just having those good conversations with people, or having those uncomfortable conversations with people sometimes, but having a conversation nonetheless.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that your parents were giving you a bunch of crap about it, and then the last time I saw your mom, she was wearing your shirt, and I just thought, man, she's changed her ways, huh?
Yeah, so she's old school. Both my parents are old school. They grew up with, you know, hoodlums and kids that don't go to school get tattoos, things like that. And I get that. That was bikers get tattoos, and that was the way it was for the most part. But it's much more of an artistic thing nowadays, I think, and a way to express yourself versus a initiation to a lifestyle. And so, my mom was super, super against tattoos. I think she cried when I got the first one. And my dad just thought I was an idiot. But they've both come to accept them. I don't cover them up around them. I don't cover them up in any situation anymore. And they're both super okay with it, super behind it, and super supportive of the brand, of what I'm trying to do and everything. So it's been a much different. They've both flipped 180 on it for sure. My dad wears it too, and my dad is very old school. So it's been kind of interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same way with my parents. I'm still they still don't know about a couple of them, so it's kind of funny that they sit there, you know, like I'm still afraid to tell them, because every time I do, it's like they don't want to talk to me for a while. They're kind of old school too, so it's kind of funny.
Buy them a shirt, man.
I should see what they say.
Yeah.
So where do you see, you know, you're doing a bunch of things. Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years, 10 years down the road with Tattooed and Successful, with the real estate thing? Is it you just going to keep pushing it? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I just want to keep building them to a little mini empire type thing. I definitely want to maybe eventually branch off the Break the Mold line to its own company, just because it's grown so much. I want to start a podcast with both of them. And then with the real estate thing, that's just about just stacking investment properties and land, and just kind of keep things for the next 5 years. We should just the goals just keep doubling every year until you can't no more.
That's awesome. Well, before I get to the last question here, let's talk about all the places that we can find you. We kind of hint on it a little bit, but where's the best place to look you up and get your stuff and all that?
Honestly, the best place is Instagram. We're at Tattooed and Successful is our IG name. If you go to tattooedandsuccessful.com, that's the website. On Twitter, we're at Break the Mold, which is just the BRKTHEMLD. And then on Facebook, just type in Tattooed and Successful. But that was a big deal, was to get that domain, the Tattooed and Successful.
So since you brought up the Break the Mold, I've heard the story about it before. Can you kind of explain to the audience a little bit about that Break the Mold?
Yeah, so I got a little bit of OCD, not a lot, but like a little bit. And so with the Break the Mold, I just thought it looked clean with the 333. So it's BRKTHEMLD. And it ended up looking clean. We do it like this. We do it in more of a block font. I ended up getting it on my hand right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so it kind of turned into its own little brand by itself. Did one shirt with it, and then we used to kind of do it as like a tagline with our shirt. Like we'd have our logo here, and then it'd be up on the collar or on the sleeve or something like that. And then we kept getting more and more requests for it, and then people without tattoos really wanted it for kind of a young woman in nursing, or a woman that does something different, or a man that's in a women's industry, or a young person in an older type of industry. And just people wanted to express themselves, or wanted to express that they were pushing the envelope. They were breaking the confines of what people thought they were capable of doing. And that's where this line really started to grow.
It's just a new way of thinking outside the box. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, new way of thinking outside the box, and then just never putting that limitation on yourself of what you can accomplish. You can fail and start over, build something bigger than what you had before. That's breaking the mold. There's just a million ways you can take it.
Yeah, you brought up failure, and I just want to hit on that real quick here too, because I think that a lot of people have a hard time dealing with failure. Can you talk a little bit about your failures and how you've dealt with those? Because I know that there's been a few setbacks that you've had, whether it be with football or the business or anything like that. How do you deal with those setbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a bunch. Injuries, divorced at a young age. I had a kind of unaccomplished college career for basketball after being a pretty good high school player. And I think the biggest thing is if you're able to just step back from those failures, and even if it's something super small or something that you think super stupid now, there's just really, really small lessons in every failure. There's huge lessons, and those are the ones that you know right away. Like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that, or damn it, I could have put in more work to accomplish this. And those are obvious, and those while you're going through the task, that if you don't do them, you're going to fail. But a lot of times there's those little intricacies on things you could have done differently. And I think I definitely am one of those people that think you learn way more from your failures than you do your successes. And this brand, at one point last year, I was ready to shut it down, because I just felt like it wasn't growing the way I wanted it to. I felt like it wasn't producing as quickly as I thought it was. And then I went back to that thing that I talked about. At that point I was still too money motivated instead of a culture shift. And so I got back on the thought process of it's a mindset change of thinking of trying to build something culturally and trying to build something that people respond to versus something that makes you dollars. And I think when you think of ways to change lives and ways to build a culture, you're much more likely to succeed than instead of looking at dollar signs in pocketbooks.
Yeah, that's pretty profound right there. I think that's a great way to get there. When you decided that it wasn't money driven, it just kind of opened up the book for everything. So that's really great.
And it's hard.
All right, so here,
younger, and so that's all you think about when you're 26, 5, 7 in that area.
Yeah, instant gratification, really.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, this is the last question here. The show is called Shaping Success, and this is because of something that we kind of hit on a little bit. It's different for everyone. And so how would you define your success? What is the shape of your success?
I think the shape of my success, or defining my success, is establishing small tasks and doing them to the best of your ability. And when you complete them, that's a successful day to me, or a successful goal, or a successful week, or things like that. It is just really small tasks, because I'm one that I can get really ahead of myself on the end goal. And if I don't establish little baby successful steps on the way to that, then I just tend to spin my wheels and not get going. But success to me is establishing rules for how you're going to operate, and rules for how you're going to go about a task, and then establishing segments within that goal and checking those boxes off as you reach that goal. And that's success to me. And that's simple shit as unloading and loading the dishwasher, doing your laundry, making your bed, getting the kids to school, or going out and making sales every day, or whatever it may be. If you can set small little things, chase each one of those, you're bound to reach end goals. But if you just chase end goals, you can get lost in the middle.
So doing the best you can a little bit at a time. I like it. That's an awesome idea. That's great. Hey, well, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be on here. It was great to have you. I look forward to seeing this brand grow and everything that you're doing. I'm glad that we connected and that we're connected here. So, let's keep in touch. And thanks for taking the time to be on here.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thank you so much for letting me be on here. Anytime you need another guest, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, everyone, that's the show. Thank you for listening. If you could do me a huge favor, wherever you're hearing this, please share this. Head over to Apple Podcast, and this will be up on Monday. Give it a 5-star rating and a review, please. And until next time, I am going to challenge you to find the shape of your success.
This was Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Aggressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502. 541-709-6502. That is Aggressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.